Okay, guys, so one thing that I want to mention, I want to talk about, and I just kind of realized that I haven't, like, mentioned him, and I just kind of threw him on my face or my shorts channel, or just threw him up as a short, and, like, didn't really explain much. Well, I said in a video a good while back that I was going to get into a little bit more of a crazier reptile kind of area. Like, it was going to be quite a bit more than just snakes. And I had picked up that little gator and I made a video that was just in a holding aquarium tank for. He was just in there for a couple days just to kind of hold him for the new owner to come and get him. Um, but I've started posting on my shorts about this guy. That dude right there. I can't really put the camera down. I guess it's bowing a little bit. But that little kind of cute face right there. This is Bob. Um, Bob has quite the sad story behind him. Um, Bob is around 6 years old, and, well, yeah, roughly almost 6 years old. And what had happened with Bob is I've actually known Bob for a few years, a couple years. And he was not this big at the time. I've he's been eating pretty well. Listen to him. Hey, buddy. What? What's the matter? Okay, so Bob, I met Bob probably I want to say, here, let me prop the phone up so you can see him. Okay. Now, I don't want you to get a bad idea about alligators because of how Bob is acting right now. I'm going to be completely honest. I do not blame him for acting how he is. Up until, I would assume, probably close to a year and a half ago, because I got Bob on October 1st, last year. So I've had him for around 4 months. And the guy that I got him from told me, I believe the story or the timeline kind of lines up to where he had him for a little over a year, around a year and some change, either like a month or two under or a month or two over. And Bob was kept in an aquarium at a pet store, like a family owned pet store. And it wasn't necessarily their fault. Now, I know you're not really supposed to get an animal without a plan. But whenever you own a pet store, you're like you gonna take a nap? Whenever you run like a mom and pop family owned pet store, sometimes you keep animals longer than what you want on a shelf. Um, and this store would get gators in. Um, they sold them, and I don't know if this is the story with Bob. I'm not sure. Oh, what is he doing? Um, I don't know if that is what happened with him. He just got too big, or he might have got a little bit snappy and they didn't want to sell him as a liability. I don't know. But they ended up keeping Bob, and business happened. A lot of business happened. They kind of became very well known in the area. They're about an hour from me, so I would consider them a local pet store. This pet store is where I bought Chunk and Loki. Um, I did lose Loki, but it was due to a pump malfunction, and I am dealing with the pump manufacturer. They claimed that the pump was totally suitable for ponds, and it overheated and spilled over and degassed into my water, and I almost lost both Chunk and Loki. That's why you do not hear the pool pond behind me. It is currently getting a revamp. I have a very nice large pool pump, large for it, that I'm going to try to kind of rehab and put in place of the old unit, and like hardline the hot tub heater and stuff in. Anyway, back to Bob. Um, several, like, I guess, well, yeah, several, like 4 months ago. Actually, no, it's probably closer to 5 months. Because I didn't pick up Bob immediately. But I was in a pet store, and not the one that had Bob. Well, actually, I'll backtrack it. I guess probably close to a year ago, I went into the pet store that had Bob, and Bob wasn't there. So I walked to the front and I said, "Well, where's Bob?" And they said that he had went to a better location. Kind of sounded like he had died, but they assured me that he wasn't dead. They said that somebody had come and bought him. They gave him a trough, which is what he's in now, and they sold him to this gentleman, and I bumped into him probably a year and some change later, like I mentioned, and we were talking. I was at a pet store looking at boas and bumped into him. We talked for a bit. He told me he had an American alligator, and then he said something about Princeton, which is where the shop is at. And I said, "Oh, well, you bought Bob?" And he said, "Yes, I bought Bob." And I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome. I used to go up there and see him all the time." I loved going up there and seeing Bob. I like alligators. I think they're super cool and they're very smart. And he just kind of hit me out of left field. "Do you want to buy him?" And I had been looking for gators, but I did not want to get a big gator. I wanted to start off small, maybe a foot and a half. Not quite a baby, but not Bob size, and handle it and just kind of work with it. Make it friendly, make it very docile, tame, handleable, and Well, Bob was none of those. But he and his wife were expecting, and he did not want to keep Bob for obvious reasons. Starting a family, you don't want an alligator necessarily. It's kind of a risky situation, whether him hurting himself, trying to mess with Bob, or you know, Bob maybe getting loose. There's quite a bit of issues that could come up having a young child, newborn, around an alligator. Obviously. So, picked up, started saving up. The original pump on the pool pond messed up. I messaged him probably a month later, and I'm like, man, I'm sorry. I was saving. I really, really want Bob, but I just can't. I can't do it. My pump on my pool messed up, and I lost pretty much 80% of my money to get the pump replaced. And that pump was the one that ended up killing one of my fish. But that's beside the point. Anyway. He said, well, tell you what, if you can come and get him, you can have him. I'll cut my losses. You just come and get him. Or, well, I will bring him to you. I'll meet you somewhere. You can have him. So I said, okay, I'll start cleaning the spot. And that was kind of where this started. Like, this is why he's in a 9-foot cattle trough. This is nowhere near. Oh, where's he going? He's going to the heat. This is nowhere near his permanent setup. It's winter time right now, and I can't have him anywhere besides the basement while it's winter. And right now, the basement has no room for a large enclosure, so just as a holding tank for now, he's in a 9-foot by 3-foot water stock trough tank thingy. My plans are, whenever it warms up, getting a dog crate, or not crate, a dog fence, like a kennel, like a 10 by 10 kennel, and putting the hot tub that I have up above the house, or up above the corner beside the chicken coop, putting that in there, getting a box for him, and the hot lamp set up. He's wanting to get warm now. He's basking. He does have 3 very, very 250 watt heat bulbs on him, so he's warm. But yeah, I don't want anybody to see this setup and think, oh, he's torturing that poor animal. This was as quickly of a rescue as I could do. This is what I have to work with. It is not permanent. Like I said, I have plans of putting a kennel in the yard whenever it warms up, giving him a nice place to bask, giving him a big hot tub to swim in, and a dog box with a light in it to warm up and stay warm at night. So yeah, he's not gonna stay in this trough. So I don't want anybody to see the short of him eating the hot dog weenies and getting upset thinking that he's being tortured or punished. And he does seem very aggressive, and not gonna lie, he's not the most friendly. He is very much not the most friendly. But from where he was at to begin with, on October 1st, he was brought to me in a tote that I let the dude borrow. He put a pillow or a sheet in there, taped up, and sat him inside of it. So he cared about this alligator. So I feel like it was a little upsetting for him to get rid of Bob, I'm sure, but he brought him to me. I met him at a gas station, and he said he's okay in water. You can kind of pet him in water and he'll just move away, but on land, do not try to touch him. And then he drove off. So I got him out of the tote, and he immediately tried to hurt me very bad. And we got him taped up, and I held him for a few hours and just tried to kind of gain a little bit of trust with him that I was not going to hurt him. And I feel like that might have done a little bit, but on percentage wise, I'm talking like maybe 5% of a little bit. But coming down here and being involved with him, like right now, he's pretty well relaxed. Now, if I move a whole bunch or if I make a loud noise, he might go a little defensive again. But pretty much he's just relaxed. He's chill. I'm not a threat to him. And we're just relaxing. We're just hanging out, buddies hanging out together. But he does have, whenever you watch these videos of like Snake Bites TV, Brian Barczyk, where they have the rabbits and they toss the rabbit in the air and the retic jumps out and grabs it. That's a feed response. And his feed response is pretty much hissing. Coming up to the top of the cage. Sometimes he'll bump the top with his nose or bump the bottom of the cage, like the bottom of the top here with his nose. It's a very, not aggressive, but like very amped up food response. He was not clicker trained before I got him. I have kind of worked with him with the noises to associate a noise with food. I yesterday fed him a couple possum feet. I've trapped possum, and I watched a video of a Florida alligator jumping out of the water, grabbing a possum, and yanking it back in the water. So while trapping, I ended up catching some possum and figured I would go ahead and feed them to him. So I quartered them up, and he seemed to like them. I've got a whole nother possum in the freezer, and then 6 more legs on top of that. So he's pretty good for a little while. But yeah, it's pretty crazy owning an alligator. All of my buddies thinks he is just insanely awesome. Like every time somebody comes up here, they've got to come in and see Bob, and he's all over Snapchat, and he's stretching, he's relaxing now. Yeah, this is pretty much the life of Bob the Gator. He just kind of relaxes, stretches his arms out. Sometimes you'll catch him. You'll open the door, and he'll be all flacked out, all 4 of his feet stretched out backwards. He just big chilling. He has tried to bite me before, but as of yesterday, while he was eating, I reached in there and I picked his tail up, and I just sort of held and patted and patted on his tail while he was eating, because food kind of makes them happy. They do have the ability to feel happiness. Um, I think it's the Abdullah oblongata part of the brain is what causes their aggression. But there is also um, they do have the ability to feel happiness, and I think that whenever he gets some food in his mouth, it makes him happy. And whenever he's happy, that is the best time to try to uh, enlist positive feedbacks, petting, handling. Whenever I pet him and he does not act up or hiss, I commend him, good boy, and stuff like that. Give him praises while he's doing good gator stuff. Um, just working with him, and it's difficult. Trust me. And now, like, he might not look big, but 4.5 foot alligator is about the equivalent of intimidation factor of a 6'5" linebacker. Like, he's intimidating. So it's pretty difficult sometimes to kind of, I wouldn't say call their bluff, but don't let them get in their head that a snip or a snap or a bellow, growl, hiss will get you to leave them alone. You kind of have to call that safely and just kind of tell them that it's not on their terms when they get messed with, and they will eventually just kind of relax to it and be fine with it. But it does take time and a lot of courage and some balls. Like, I'm telling you, him jumping at you is pretty sketchy. But I love Bob. I do not regret buying getting him. If I could start with a baby, I probably would have done that. But Bob, I'm glad that I was the one that he found and offered to take him, because I feel like anybody else, in at least close by, anybody else that would have taken him in with that kind of response and anger and snappiness, I feel like Bob would not be alive at this point with many other people, handlers, owners. So, and I mean, if you think about him, if you look, he's cute. Like, honestly, I feel like Bob, he's got this little thing to where whenever you feed him, he will come up to your hand, eat the food, and then he'll just flop down. He will just drop, and his jaw kind of bounces and hits the floor a little bit. Oh. But one of the downfalls about alligators is, although he is smart and he uses his his pool as like a litter box, alligator poop is disgusting. And that is not very old. I've cleaned that very recently. They are very messy creatures. That's just how they are. They poop a lot. And it's like a muddy color. It's pretty gross. It's like a red mud look. But yeah, this is Bob. aka Bobbert Plant II. Um, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment down below. Yes, he is legal to own. Now, there would be some issues if I decided to take him across the state lines. That's where there's some issues arise. So, we'll get there when we get there. If I decide to move, and Bobbert is still with me, then I might have to purchase a educational license, because that's kind of what I did working before Bob with the people. I would walk around and educate with monster snakes and an alligator about the same size as Bob here. But yeah, this is Bob. Like I said, if you have any questions, comment them down below. What do you think about Bob? If would you want an alligator, and if so, why? What makes you, what got you, what fascinates you about alligators? Why would you want Bob if you wanted Bob? So go ahead, let me know, comment below, and I guess we'll let you go with that. Hopefully he will be in videos more. I plan on continuing training with him, and then once it warms back up fully and there's no more cold spells to come through, I will work on getting an outdoor enclosure set up for him. That way I can one-on-one work with him and, have more of a trusting session where, I will be in with him, so it'll just be one-on-one, and there won't be no cage or trough between us. I can feed him up close and just gain trust, which is the biggest thing for Bob right now. And like I said, I do not blame him, but he has a hard time trusting people, because most people in his life up to this point, or a couple of years ago, were kind of neglectful, not necessarily at their own fault or on purpose, but he was kind of neglected, and I don't know, it's sad, but I can't say that I don't blame him I don't blame him at all for being a little bit iffy, leery, and not trusting. We'll work on it. Hopefully one of these days he'll be cuddly and he'll be able to watch TV with me. Would you like that, Bob? Would you like to watch a movie? I bet you'd like Jaws. Oh, maybe he got a little scared of Jaws. Okay. Well, Bob said bye.